I'm a man. I'm for you. Can't wait. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It is Thursday night. It's been a while. Bases Loaded podcast. It's been, I feel like a month or so now. But we're back. Spring training has gotten underway. What better time to talk some baseball here with the guys? You guys already know Aaron, brutally honest sports. He was on here before, but we got a new guy. We got Trajan. So I want to start right there, Trajan. How you doing? Welcome to the show and everything. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. This Wisconsin weather we're having up here is ridiculous, though. Yesterday it was a high of 5. Today we're up to 40. They're talking 60s this weekend. Then next week's back down to 20. I can't handle it. I can't handle the crap that's going on in the weather right now. It's ridiculous. It's like Wisconsin sports, though, just all the way around. It's a cycle. You just got to live with it. You get your crap, you get your good, then you get more crap on top of that. We've avoided the snow, though. Otherwise, all good on this end.
Okay. That's definitely wild, variances in the weather there. But I'm from Boston, so I kind of understand that a little bit. But yeah, so Aaron, brutally honest sports, how you doing tonight?
Can't complain. Man, it's been like weird here. Well, a little bit of variation in the weather too, because yesterday it was like 60 here, and I live in central Pennsylvania, and it's like 60, and then today it didn't get up to 40. So it's like it is that mixed bag. But hey, I'm kind of cool with it. Like, this isn't a weather show, not to get long-winded, but it's just like I like the changes. Like, if it was 80 degrees every day, I'd probably get bored. So, but it can be brutal. Like 5 degrees out there, that's a different story for sure.
Yeah, kind of want a little variation. I get that. We got let's see, Freddie, what's up? What's going on? Key, Jory, Dre, what's up? Key said, facts. Aaron, Pennsylvania's bipolar. That's just the North. You know how it is.
You guys haven't
Trey
been to
Young,
Wisconsin if you think that
right?
Pennsylvania's bipolar. Wisconsin's a mess.
Appreciate that, Trey. See, Jory says same here. Say it's 73 for the bottom of the sky. Yeah, that's true. Down in Atlanta, it was nuts yesterday. But look, like Aaron said, this isn't the Weather Channel. Although we could talk weather for an hour or so.
We're pretty good.
I don't know how many of you would want that. But look, like I said, spring training's underway. And I feel like the biggest news so far is the fact that, well, one, Rob Manfred said he's retiring in 5 years, which is interesting to announce a retirement that early. But he also said he'd like to see a signing period in Major League Baseball. Because if you've been paying attention, we had like that early flurry in free agency where a couple of big names were signed, but there's still a lot of big name free agents out there. You still have Jordan Montgomery, you have Blake Snell, a lot of the Scott Boras guys. So let's just open up the discussion with, are you a fan of a signing period? And I think Rob Manfred said he would like to see it like in December, where a lot of these big names will get signed. We'll start with you, Trajan. Would you be a fan of a signing period, or do you like it the way it kind of is right now? Or if you have a happy medium or something like that.
I like the idea. I like the idea of a signing period. You have to have some structure around it here, because now we're going to be a couple weeks into spring training now, and Blake Snell's still out there. Jordan Montgomery's still out there. JD Martinez. And like you said, all Scott Boras. But all that boils down to is MLB owners, I believe, are getting a little bit smarter. They aren't really falling for the crap of, hey, I have to pay this guy this much, because the closer and closer we get to opening day, the smaller and smaller that contract's going to be. Like Blake Snell just came out and he said that he would take a shorter deal and have like options in there and everything like that, kind of to lessen what the blow is going to be to a team's payroll. So I don't know, something's got to change within it's in all of sports, but baseball's a big one. the salary cap, I've really been a fan of adding some kind of salary cap in the game because we saw what the Dodgers did with Shohei, with Yamamoto. I mean, that's ridiculous. How is a small market team supposed to compete any day of the week? I mean, look at my Brewers. I mean, how can we compete? We sign a guy like Christian Yelich, we're washed for about 15 years. We can't afford another guy. We get the washed up guys. We get the Luke Voits and Daniel Vogelbachs of the world out there. And it's like, what the heck? What is this crap that we're getting right now? I mean, just the bottom of the barrel. So I think there has to be a signing period of some sort. I don't know if you limit it to just a month. Maybe you give them 2 months, maybe December, January, give it a little extended period for teams to talk. But I don't know. I think there has to be a change within baseball financially, as in like a salary cap or some kind of wage limit in there, because right now some of these contracts are ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good point. And I mean, look, the Otani thing, yeah, that really kind of threw a wrench in a lot of teams' plans, because if he's gonna make that kind of like you want to call it a sacrifice, but he's still gonna get his money. But if he's gonna do that to go to the Dodgers, it's like every other team's gonna be like, so if we had offered like $1 billion, would you have come here or not? Because clearly by making a move like that, he had his heart set on the Dodgers. But Aaron, let you get in on this. What do you think about a signing period?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with Traegan. I agree completely because, like, you can point to the fact like they're all Boris clients, and like that's part of the problem, which obviously it is. Like, there's without a doubt he's like trying to orchestrate deals probably that aren't there. I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall for one of these conversations. Like, is Blake Snell like, look, Scott, we gotta make one of these deals, and Scott's like, let's push more and more and more. And like, you can only push so far. And then like, I mean, thankfully, not that, I'm a Red Sox fan, but it's, you either love or hate the Yankees, I think, for the most part. And like, thank God he didn't sign that deal with the Yankees. Cause I mean, from all the reports that might've been the best deal he's had offered. Not to say that he still might sign with them, but it's like, that's a problem to me. Like, it's just, especially like a pitcher like that, because I know, Kyle, we talked about it before. Like, basically most of the point of spring training is to get the pitchers and catchers like on the same page and get the arms going and build up some stamina. And like, now you have Blake Snell who's thrown 0 innings in spring training. Granted, like I was watching the Phillies the other day, like Aaron Nola only threw a couple and this and that. But like, if this goes on another 2 weeks and like all these starting pitchers out there have 20 innings or 15 and Blake Snell's just waiting to go, it's just like, now you can, create an injury from that, or it's just, I think they have to implement that signing period. And to touch on the salary cap thing real quick is like, I love the NHL's model where it's like, there's a salary floor or a salary floor and a ceiling to it. So like, teams have to spend a certain amount and then they can't spend, they can't overspend. So it's like, if they would just do that, I'd be all for it. But I mean, unfortunately, I think all things indicate that won't happen for some time. But I don't know what's gonna really change that other than the commissioner and ML and baseball itself stepping in.
Yeah, I feel like baseball definitely would it would serve it a lot of purpose if they were to go with the whole floor aspect of it, because a lot of these teams who don't spend money just don't want to spend any money. At least putting a floor in, you can tell them, look, you want to be cheap, but you got to be at least this cheap. You can't be like, $10 million and having fans show up and be like, yeah, we're going to try this. And it's like, no, you're not. You got teams out here spending $200 million. You're coming with a $15 million payroll. Yeah, we kind of know what kind of season we're going to have. But also looking at the signing period, I know Tony Clark, who's head of the MLBPA or the Players Association, he doesn't like it, obviously, because why would players necessarily want the signing period? And Scott Boras doesn't like it either, because once again, his guys are always the last to sign, so obviously he doesn't want that kind of pressure. But I feel like if I was playing devil's advocate, if I was going to look at it, couldn't teams say, okay, we have the signing period, but what happens if we go past the signing period? Does that mean guys can only sign a limited deal, and then wouldn't teams just kind of force these players' hands by just waiting it out and then getting them on lesser deals? Is that something you think players would probably worry about, or you think that's even possible? I don't know, because we don't know the parameters of what the signing period would necessarily look like in terms of if you don't sign by then, what would you do? So what do you think would happen if a player didn't sign within the signing period? Should there be a limitation on their length or what?
I don't know. That's interesting. I think you would have to, but like you said, there's so many ways around it then for teams, owners, everything like that to be able to avoid having to pay that extra dollar. So you would have small market teams just wait it out and be like, I'm gonna wait until the end here and I'm gonna jump on somebody. So I don't know if you could have, you'd have to almost penalize players for not signing during that signing period in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how you do it if you fine them. That seems really crude to do to a player, but that would be the only way. And this day and age, fining players isn't really anything to them because they make millions of dollars. $500, $1,000 fine isn't anything to them. But that's the only way I could think past the signing period. Otherwise, how do you really penalize them? I don't know.
All right, so Chris in the chat's going, Chris, if they don't sign, they should get a 1-year big money deal. It benefits the player for 1 year, and if teams want to lock them up, it forces them to push the envelope. I mean, yeah, that would definitely make it, I guess, make the incentive for the team to not want to wait, because if you can only get them on a 1-year deal, then that player just jumps back into the free agent pool the following year, and if it's a guy that you actually wanted. So, yeah, I mean, that could be a way to make it work for both sides. That's a really good point there, Chris. But yeah, Aaron, I mean, do you, I guess, agree with Chris's parameters, or you think it could work a little differently?
No, it's definitely an interesting point. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's wrong in any way. It's just, it's one of those things. It's like, how do you exactly? Because I feel like no matter what you put in place, it's not gonna be perfect by any means, and it's like, it's tough because, like, you're not going to suspend a guy for not signing within a signing, like that would be ridiculous. But it's like, what can you actually do? Like, to Tragan's point, like if you start fining him, I mean, maybe if you find him like 100,000 a day after the signing period, then that would garner some attention to that player or those group of players or whatever. But man, that's like an A+ question, Kyle. Like I don't have a really good answer for you, but I think they should just be like, look, like you need to sign within this period. Like, I don't know what they could actually enforce, but like if you don't sign at a certain point, like now, I think before spring training, like at least through the first week or something, because now, like we always talk about how baseball, creates its own black cloud on itself, and like this kind of is doing it again because people are talking about it negatively. Like, look, why aren't these guys signing? We'll have a signing once every 3 weeks or something. Like Kyle, we talked about how after Ohtani and Soto got traded, it's like just what's really happened. Like, the Corbin Burns trade to the Orioles was big, but like there's a couple in there and then it's just dead quiet. Like where it's like the NFL offseason, the NBA offseason's like boom, boom, boom. It's just like dynamite after dynamite moves, and like baseball doesn't have that.
Yeah, look, this is because we see with the NFL, we see with the NBA, when they have their free agency period, they are relevant because we see big names moving pretty quickly. It's pretty hectic. Baseball's the exact opposite, like you said. It's been drawn out so long. I couldn't even tell you the last guy who signed. I think it was Bellinger probably last week. But even before that, it was like, is nobody going to sign? And look, Blake Snell won the Cy Young last year, and he's still out there. Jordan Montgomery was seen as like the third best pitcher in the free agent market. He's still out there. And it's like, what are these players waiting for at this point? I don't get it. I don't understand why baseball does this to himself.
But, I think a big thing with it is, players aren't really looking as much for the winning aspect anymore. They're kind of just looking to get their payday. That's kind of the big kicker there too. So Blake Snell isn't worried, hey, if the Dodgers grab me or if the Yankees grab me, if I think the Yankees have potential, the Yankees never go to the World Series, but if they think they have that potential, just take a shot at the Yankees there. But if, guys
We're
aren't
all
worried
for that.
about that anymore, they're all these players are just out there to collect that payday. And that's the problem too. Scott Boras is really implementing that into the league right now, but that's a big problem. Guys aren't really there for the long haul anymore. They're not trying to build a team. They're okay jumping team to team as long as they can get that big payday coming with that next club. So I think that's a big issue too, is going off of the salary cap before, is these guys can wait it out because they can get those dollars at the end of it.
Yeah. Chris said you could also do something where if they don't sign, they go back to their previous team for some set price. I mean, I don't know if maybe the only downfall to that would be what the previous team doesn't actually want them back. Maybe, but I mean, I feel like that's kind of a rare thing. And yeah, that pushes the player to not drag it out like Snell and others. Yeah. The fact that we have spring training games going and these guys aren't signed is crazy to me. Although, I don't know, the whole Jordan Montgomery thing seems like the Red Sox are somewhat involved. I just don't know what to think of that. I mean, obviously, if Jordan Montgomery signed with the Red Sox, he becomes probably their best pitcher, although I don't know if he's an ace of a staff, though. And that probably tells more about the state of the Red Sox at this point, that a guy who's probably a number 3 is your ace just because he's the best known commodity in your starting rotation. I mean, it hurts me as a Red Sox fan. I miss the days of Pedro. I mean, can we bring those days back? But it is what it is. I mean, do you guys think Montgomery ends up in Boston?
I did hear East Coast. He wanted to stay on the East Coast somewhere. So it wouldn't surprise me. The last team I ever expect to make a move is Boston. I got to be honest with you. Boston's like, as of late, it's like nobody. We trade guys away like Xander Bogaerts and Mookie and everybody else, but we don't sign anybody. So the Red Sox, I don't know. I don't know if they would jump on that. The guy that interests me, and I don't know what you guys think about it, is Trevor Bauer. I know he's not a part of the big name list of free agents, but from what he said, he would sign for league minimum for just a team to give him a shot. I mean, I'm a Brewer fan, and I'm looking at our pitching rotation after we got rid of Corbin Burns, and I'm like, why not? Why not take a shot on this guy? Right now, our number 2 is Wade Miley. That dude can't evade Father Time for much longer. I mean, at one point, it's going to catch up with him. So it's like, why not take it? I don't know. I wanted to hear what you guys thought on Trevor Bauer. And would you take a shot at him? I mean, he's been pitching well. So would you guys take a shot at him?
I've heard so many conversations about Bauer, and like, I forget the podcast name, but it's with AJ Pierzynski. It's a purely baseball podcast, and they were talking about that, and they kept going back to the point that, there's 30 MLB teams, and it's like, why hasn't he gone? And like, if he's willing to play for the league minimum, we know what type of pitcher he was. Like, is it not a red flag that, no one's picked him up outside of the fact that like the whole domestic issue with that woman or whatever happened there? But like, I've heard, stuff, the Yankees and stuff like that, and they said Garrett Cole and him have beef, like, going back. So who knows, like, how much of it's really like true, and like, maybe he is a locker room cancer type of guy on top of everything else. But like, I mean, like you said, Tragan, like, if you're the Brewers or like the Marlins or like one of these teams that like kind of knocks on the door quite often, but you just can't seem to push through, like, why not go out and like try and make a move that's potentially makes your team better? I mean, maybe put clauses in the contract, like if he's struggling, you can just get rid of him and you owe him like that league minimum, and that's it. Like, I don't see why not. I mean, unless this guy is an absolute like issue to deal with, and like the Dodgers cut bait with him on like for more reasons than just the fact that this happened. Like, maybe that's why. I mean, he pitched in Japan, I think, last season or a year or two ago or whatever. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm with you. It's just like, why hasn't anybody signed him for league minimum. That's my league minimum is nothing for these teams, especially a big market team. And then Kyle for what's his name? Montgomery. I have heard the Red Sox have the biggest chance at him. I've heard the Phillies a little bit just be mentioned, but I mean, obviously I wouldn't count the Rangers out from bringing him back. Obviously they win the World Series is a big part of that. So I don't know. That's another we talked. It's a Boras client, and I don't know the asking price. Scott Boras is probably just trying to drive the price out of the sky, and these teams don't as they shouldn't. They shouldn't pay even you see the Yankees and a lot of other teams now where they don't overspend. The Dodgers will overspend and not care. The Mets overspent and didn't care, but I don't know. Maybe he's worth X amount, and Scott Boras is trying to get way more. So,
I mean, because of Scott Boras, that's probably exactly what the reason is. Bauer, see, Dustin said, what's going on, Dustin? Bauer has a history of baggage everywhere he's gone. Although you did say he has beef with Garrett Cole. Red Sox, let's see. I mean, he's beefing with the Yankees. Why not bring him in at that point?
He's got some fire. You like that. You got to have the fire.
I mean, yeah, that probably means he might throw at, Stan or somebody just to get him all riled up. Why not? If the Red Sox season is going to be as bad as some people think, bring some entertainment to it. That's all. I want
to see a brawl or two. I like brawls. I mean, there's nothing better than a good old brawl.
I mean, yeah, A-Rod, Veritek. Who wouldn't love that? So Jory had a question because she said she's a baseball newbie, which is perfect. We're here to help you out. So she said, in the NFL, they have cut down deadlines. I don't know if they have anything like that in baseball, but if you aren't on a team prior to spring training or working on a deal, then you should be out of luck. I mean, if it came down to that, it would definitely push free agents to sign because making no money is not an option for these guys. So, I mean, hey, Jory's making it real cut and dry. Either sign by spring training or you don't have a team to go to. Dustin said the only way Bauer makes it back to the bigs if he signs a minor league deal. And my Braves don't need a pitcher. That much I do know. Well, that's because the Braves are just
the Braves.
I don't know. They're just OP at this point. They're Thanos. Right. What else can you say?
The team
I mean, look.
The team I'm surprised hasn't made a move yet? The Chicago Cubs. I mean, yeah, they did just report they signed Bellinger. I haven't seen it for sure, but they reportedly signed him. But, you signed Craig Counsell and took him away from my Brewers. I know. That was one last FU to the Brewers when he walked out the door, is when he went to the Cubs. But they just haven't made a move yet. And it just really surprised me. They have a lot of money. I mean, they're not a small market by any means. They got a lot of money to spend. Does that surprise you guys? I mean, they have to be in the market for Montgomery, JD Martinez, maybe Matt Chapman. I don't know. One of those guys. They have to be in there in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Dustin threw out there Chapman and Monty to Chicago.
That he knows.
So Dustin, if that happens,
he got me.
we'll definitely remember that and shout you out.
Yeah, is Chicago? Do they still have? Who's their GM? Wasn't it? It was the Red Sox former GM at one point, right?
Yeah, and now Epstein's back with the Red Sox in some weird role. Yeah,
I know when he was with he made that World Series happen basically. So, he's a big part of it. So, yeah, that's a good point, Tragan. I feel like they went out and spent they went and got Dansby Swanson. They went and got Bellinger, obviously. What was this last year or 2 years? Yeah, just last year. A couple pitchers here and there. They have been more aggressive in recent time. Bringing in a new manager, you would think they would be kind of balls to the wall, but they really haven't.
Okay, so Dustin said Jed Hoyer's president, which Jed Hoyer, I believe, also came from the Red Sox organization. And Dustin said they did sign Imanaga. So they have done, something, and he said Hector Neris. But even the Imanaga, that seemed like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That seemed forever ago.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with these teams. But I mean, Trajan, you have mentioned your Brewers a couple of times. I mean, you lost Council and Burns in the same offseason. Like, how optimistic, seriously, are you feeling about your Brewers this year?
We lost Council. We lost Burns. Woodruff, we signed him back, but he's out for this season for sure. So Freddie Peralta got moved to the ace. Wade Miley's at the 2 right now. I mean, we're so heavily reliant, and everybody wants to pray Christian Yelich at some point comes back to his MVP form. I don't see it happening. So we can just put that to bed right now. He's overpaid. That's why nobody wants him. I mean, Brewers would trade him if anybody wanted him. Nobody wants him because the guy can't. He's a liability in the outfield right now. So optimism, it's really going to be reliant on how do the rookies do. Jackson Churro, they just signed that big deal with Jackson Churro, number 2 prospect in baseball. I imagine he's going to play right away. I wouldn't see why not. You're going to have Sal Frelick back in the outfield. Rhys Hoskins, I mean, what Rhys Hoskins shows up? That's going to be my question. He's coming off injury. So what Rhys Hoskins are you going to get? Is he an everyday first baseman, or is he going to be DH first base kind of deal because they're trying to work him back in? I don't know. Third base, we moved Sal Frelick over there for some unknown reason. I don't know what's going on with that. So optimism, I still think, the NL Central is down. So I think the Brewers will be at the top of the NL Central. I just worry about the pitching staff, the starting pitching staff. The bullpen, I think the Brewers bullpen is one of the better ones in baseball yet. And I will argue that with anybody because they have Devin Williams still out there. I mean, arguably the best closer in baseball. You can list a couple guys, but Devin Williams is right at the top. Pompous pitched really well last year in that setup role. And Abner Uribe, was a rookie last year coming into his second year. The guy touches 100 and he's got nasty stuff. He's your 7th inning guy, but he could transition into that setup role. They have a couple guys right now who can throw triple digits with the likes of Trevor McGill, Abner, and then they have a rookie coming up, Jacob Mizorowski, one of the better pitching prospects in baseball. If he doesn't end up in that starting role, maybe in the bullpen. And then you have DL Hall, too, coming over from the Orioles in that trade. And man, is that guy nasty. I watched him. They had highlight clips of him out. He pitched Yelich, Hoskins, and I believe it was Contreras. I don't know who the other guy was that faced him, but all of them strike out. They all struck out against DL Hall there. And they just said his stuff is just nasty. So if he doesn't make the starting rotation, he's a bullpen guy too. So the Brewers bullpen is fine. It's just that starting rotation that worries me. But I really do think top of the NL Central for the Brewers, just because the Pirates suck. The Reds, they can't find pitching. They might have the bats. Ellie De La Cruz is, a very good bat. They have very good prospect bats, but the pitching staff always sucks. They do have Hunter Green now, but he's a hard thrower. That's about it. Hunter Green, not much more than that. That's all I'm going to say. So Cubbies, they suck. They can have Council. They'll just suck even more with Council. And then who am I missing here? Missing somebody. Cardinals. I don't know with the Cardinals. The Cardinals are so old. Arenado played like garbage last year. So did Paul Goldschmidt. The pitching staff is trash. So, NL Central right now, if the Cubs don't do anything in free agency like Dustin's telling us right now, they're going to sign the world right now. But if the Cubs don't do anything and the Reds can't figure out that pitching staff, the Brewers are at the top of the NL Central. And I don't even think they have to be that good to win the NL Central. That's how down it is right now.
Man,
yeah, it seems like Dustin is a Cubs fan, so that's gonna be interesting to see as this show goes. With you being a Brewers fan, Dustin the Cubs, because Dustin has them getting Chapman, Montgomery. They're about to trade for Pete Alonso, and he did rattle off the signings that they have made.
Holy
Michael
crap!
Bush,
they
Dominic
signed
Smith,
everybody.
Garrett Cooper, David Peralta, Bellinger, Neris, Imanaga, and several others.
I'm sorry, Dominic Smith is
laughably, you think the Brewers are the best team in the Central. Well, those in the chat, let us know who your team is. Put that in the net. So Dustin, we know, is Cubs, Jory's Braves. I think Kurum is a Rangers fan. So congrats on that World Series for you. Hey, yes, Jordan, there's two teams. There's you have the Cubs and the White Sox in Chicago.
Tragan, I don't know, man. Like 5 minutes ago, you told me how not optimistic you were, and then you say, "Oh, everybody in the is it like process of elimination? Like the division
Yes.
is just so
Yes.
it's like we can count like how many teams right now that have like the Pirates have no chance of going to the World Series. Like I'm sorry, like it's a sad truth about baseball. Like the NFL, I mean, we saw the Texans come from like they were the second worst team or whatever, maybe the worst team a year ago, and then boom, they're in the playoffs this year. Like that's the parity in the NFL. Like baseball, I think that's another. Kyle and I talked about that before. How many like problems baseball has, but yeah, like the thing is, I maybe I'm just pessimistic. Like if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, well, when do the Cardinals get back to being the Cardinal? Because they're just like that. You can stamp them in as like consistent, and then I mean the Cubs are kind of like here now, going tomorrow. The Reds are the same story though. Like I mean, there was a time where they were leading that division for a while last year, and like everybody was like, "Oh, the Reds are that team," and it's like I still think they're a couple of years. They're kind of like the Orioles were a couple of years ago. I think like they still have to fix a lot of things to like truly be a staple at the top of the division. But I don't know. I mean the Brewers are always, for the most part, like to me, the Brewers and the Twins are like the same team. It's just the AL is the Twins, NL is the Brewers. Like they are usually right there at the top of the division. I don't know if they just need to spend more money to like go further or what it possibly is, but they're never like you never see the Brewers winning like 60 games a year. It just doesn't seem to happen.
Here's what I'm going to say. The Brewers will either be terrible or they'll be the best team in the NL Central. There's two ways this year could go. And it's all going to be reliant, like I said, on how the rookies hit for this Brewers team. You know, Jackson Churro's he's the next phenom, they called him, right? So how does Jackson Churro translate into the MLB? We don't know. We don't have that answer that yet. So I will agree. If you look on paper right now, the Brewers are not the best team in the NL Central. But if you look at the pieces they have right now, prospect-wise, second-year guys, they have the upside to be that's what I'm saying is that the NL Central is not good. So, like, I'm not saying the Brewers are going to go win the World Series if they win the NL Central. I think far from that. And I don't think they have the legs to beat the Dodgers or a lot of teams in the AL. So I don't think that the Brewers, any team out of the NL Central, will go to the World Series. I don't think that. I mean, if they get into the playoffs, I think they probably will get bounced in the first round like usual, the Brewers do. So, I mean, I agree with Dustin there, is that the Brewers are not the best team on paper right now. But looking at this team, if you looked at them on paper, no. But if you watch them play, yeah, I think they could be right. Craig Counsell's the best manager in baseball. Knock it off. That's enough of that. I've had enough of this guy already.
So Dustin does have his prediction for the NL Central because he said the Cardinals added Sonny Gray, Kyle Gibson. He says Arenado and Goldschmidt won't have a down year again. He has the Cardinals first, Cubs second, Reds third, Brewers fourth, which is the Pirates would be fifth.
He's a
I
Cardinals
did look
fan.
up on FanDuel, and their current odds have it in the same order as Dustin. They have the Cardinals as the odds-on favorite to win the division, then the Cubs, Reds, Brewers, and the Pirates are a long shot. So maybe Dustin's onto something. Who knows?
Sonny Gray is good. Sonny Gray is good, but Kyle Gibson is serviceable.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I take Wade Miley over Kyle Gibson. That's all I know. Miley's a dog. I don't know if he's a Cubs fan or a Cardinals fan now. You know, I thought he was going to put the Cubs first. Now he's told me Craig Counsell's the best manager in baseball. He probably hated him a year ago. I mean, what the heck is going on?
So Dustin says covers the Cubs for a living.
There we go.
Minor leagues especially. Okay.
There we go. Now we know.
So this is going to be interesting all season. Trajan versus Dustin, and
I like this.
It's going to be a thing.
Guy. Hey, if I go down to a Brewer game, I want to sit next to you, Dustin. I'll let you know what seat I have.
There you go.
I was
actually just looking at some of these crazy odds. Oh, go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
No, you're good. What's with that? Like I feel like the Brewers have one of the more, I don't want to make sound insulting, like, but I'll say this, bizarre stadiums. Like they have that slide and like what the mascot, if they hit a home run, is that what usually like the
Yeah,
it's just
Bernie
different.
slide.
Like it looks total. It looks like it's half open, half closed. It's just like completely. I don't know. It's different. What Great American Ballpark? I think they call it. Or
Yeah, most people in Wisconsin still call it Miller Park. We haven't gotten rid of that saying for it. It's American Family Field now. They redid the slide out there and everything. Bernie's Chalet, they call it, I think. I don't know. I lose track. They have a Top Golf or an X Golf, I think it's called, inside the stadium now. I don't know. They added a lot of crap that I can't go and see. But anyways, I mean, it is one of the better ballparks in Major League Baseball, better than Wrigley. That's all I know.
wow, that's a
One more shot. I don't like the Cubs. I got to take my shots when I can. For 3/4 of the year, that ivy in the outfield is dead. That's all I'm going to say.
They shouldn't have moved the Braves from downtown. Yeah, I do know that was pretty controversial when they did do that. Oh, the area that they're in, they put a lot of stuff around it. I guess I see, but yeah, they seem like they should be a downtown team. So Dustin comes back. I'm a Cubs fan, yes, but I'm still a realist. The reality is the Cardinals are the best team on paper in the division. It pains me to say that. You're more than welcome to attend a game with me if the press box is okay.
Is he paying for the press box? Like, is he offering to let me sit in the press box with him? Because I'm down for that. Like, if that's what we're talking here. But if it's at Wrigley, I'm not sitting out in the cold there because it's always windy at Wrigley. So I'm not sitting out there in the wind. That's all I know.
I mean, I guess we'll see if he answers back. But
we're going to be friends by the end of this. That's all I know.
There you go. He gets free credentials, 3 per game. So I guess you'd get one of them.
I will be there. Wait, is he talking at Wrigley or is he talking at American Family? I'm so confused right now. Are we talking like, am I traveling?
Anywhere he goes, maybe if he's
anywhere.
Yeah.
I
guess wherever you want to join him.
There we go. I'm gonna find him.
I barely like going to downtown. I'm not going further. Might as well go to Nashville at that point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was just looking at some of these other odds for these divisions. Okay, so if I was to ask you, how do you think, I guess, FanDuel has the AL East finishing up? What would you take a guess at? The order of finish according to FanDuel. Who do you think they have winning the division?
AL East is tough.
I can tell you right off the bat who they think's going to win the division. I think I at least think that they think, if that makes sense. It's got to be. They'll pick the Yankees. Like they're the Cowboys. Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
Really, Yanks.
Yeah,
that's surprising.
I mean, I guess you want to keep going, Aaron. Think you could guess the order of finish?
So Tragan, like I'm kind of like Kyle knows this. Like I'm like a Philadelphia fan through and through, but I do like the Orioles as well. I've just been to so many games, and I love Camden Yards. Like it's like a second home to me. So like I do pull for the Orioles too. I long story short, but so obviously I hope the Orioles win that division, but it's like the Cowboys in football. Like the books love the Cowboys, the books love the Yankees. It's just I get they got Soto and they got Stroman, and like I would have went after Stroman. Like I know a lot of people say like he's another probably toxic guy in the locker room or possibly can be, but like when that guy's on, he's money and he can be super consistent at times. And he put a good year together with the Cubs last year. So I could see that. I mean, outside of, I don't know though. I know the Orioles don't have bats like everywhere. Like they don't have a lineup where you're like, absolutely fear. They don't have a guy that you got to pitch around per se. Like they have Rutschman, who's a great hitter. They have, like the likes of Austin Hayes and guys like that. And Santander can hit home runs, but they don't have Aaron Judge. So it's like, outside of that, though, for the Yankees, it's like, I mean, Judge, Soto. After that, like Volpe, he'll hit some home runs, but he probably won't hit for a good average. DJ LeMahieu's like 65 years old with a walker out there at third base. Like he's not going to play all year. You got my guy Brent from 1420 Sports Podcast, big Yankees fan. He calls Stanton the Tin Man. Like he can barely run around the bases without his knee falling, completely apart. It's like I get why there's some optimism, like why the Yankees are probably favored. Like they've won, 28 chips or whatever, 27. But it's like this roster on paper, like I don't necessarily like the Orioles have some holes in the bullpen. The Yankees probably edge them in the bullpen, but in the rotation, I would take the Orioles rotation outside of Garrett Cole. I mean, you could even say Burns is up there with Garrett Cole. I just Judge is gonna have to hit I just don't Soto and Judge. Like outside of that, I don't. Maybe Kyle, your guy Verdugo has a good season, but I don't know. Like I just are the Yankees that I mean I'd almost put the Rays like right there too then because they're just consistent. They're just no matter who they have, they find a way to be good. And then the Blue Jays just I hope they continue to slide. I just don't like the Blue Jays, but they didn't really. I mean, in all likelihood, they're going to lose Chapman. Their rotation hasn't really been that great. Manoah has been awful. Like he's not even with the major league team most of the year last year. So, and then the Red Sox to me are just a question mark. I'm not saying they're going to be awful, but I don't know what they're going to be. I think if they get Montgomery, that gives them a decent shot. I mean, they have a good offense. It felt like all year last year. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the Red Sox, it's going to be Story with his health because he was basically out of the lineup most of the season last year. And the pitching staff is the biggest question mark. Like, we know kind of Garrett Whitlock is a decent pitcher, but I think there's still questions in Boston of whether he needs to be a reliever or can he work as a starter. You have Tanner Houck, who people were saying was like the right-handed Chris Sale, but he hasn't really been able to put together a really good season yet. He still has that issue where third time through the lineup, he gets hammered. So he can only pitch like 5 innings for you. And Brian Bayo, who I do like as a young pitcher, but you have to see what kind of growth he has this year. So I don't know how much optimism there really is around the Red Sox, at least for right now. I mean, I can change with a couple of signings. It's just that we just haven't seen anything from them yet. So Dustin said Orioles, Rays, Yankees, Jays, Sox in that order. Yankees in third. I mean,
I agree with Dustin on that one. We don't agree on much, but I agree with him on that.
So I will say, according to FanDuel, Yankees, Orioles, Blue Jays, Rays, Red Sox. That's the order that they have it in.
Wow. Kind of bullish on the Blue Jays.
I could see it. I could see what FanDuel's telling me. I could see it ending that way. But like you said before, a lot of things got to go right for the Yankees, and mainly health. They have to stay healthy for an entire year. And like you said, DJ LeMahieu, I forgot about DJ LeMahieu for a while there, just because he got injured and that was it. Same with Trevor Story with the Red Sox. I mean, I forgot about Trevor Story after he left the Rockies because it just hasn't been the talk of the town anymore. So the AL East is definitely an interesting one that could go about 3 different ways. I really do think.
Yeah. I mean, the other divisions will probably do those over the coming weeks to kind of get us, ready for the regular season. I just looked at that because I thought it was interesting. But okay, Jory has a question about the Yankees. When was the last time they were relevant? Well, kind of like Aaron said, they are like the Cowboys, so they're always kind of in the news, whether it's good or bad. I mean, they haven't won a World Series since
09.
Oh, how long is it?
Yeah. I think it's 09.
Yeah. For the money the Yankees spend, that's a long time to go without a World Series. They've gotten close a few years, can't beat the Astros. Maybe because all their hitters are home run or strikeout, and the Astros usually have pretty good pitching. Oddly enough, why they keep losing. But
I
yeah,
don't
the
get
Yankees are always going to be relevant because they are the Cowboys of Major League Baseball.
Sadly.
I don't like they have money and obviously they have money and like I just don't get why it's like they consistently go after injury prone players. Like Rodon has injury problems in the past. They go out and get him. They went and got Harrison Bader. They traded Montgomery. Like Montgomery was a Yankee, and then they traded him. Harrison Bader comes in, who's like he's an exciting player to watch, but he's like as injury prone, if not more than Stanton. And like you already have a liability in Stanton. Like I just don't. I don't. And everybody wants to like rush to blame Cashman. Like I feel like it's probably a collective thing with the Yankees. They're like, maybe Cashman doesn't want any of those guys, and they're telling him we're signing these guys. Like they're an organization to me that's just I don't get how they screw it up because it's like not saying you can buy yourself a championship, but the decisions they make are like head scratchers to me.
Yeah, I think it's always been their lineup kind of construction because if you look at their lineup basically at the end of the season, it's like a lot of low 200 hitters. And I feel like that's where they really get into trouble in the playoffs because the way the playoffs seem to go, you always need a guy who, works a long at bat, gets a walk or, a little punch through the infield to get on base or something. And it's like when the Yankees needed that, they just never could get it. Yeah, it's nice if Aaron Judge goes up there and hits a solo home run. Okay, but unless you get guys on base, doesn't really have the effect it does once you get to the postseason. What's going on, Gene? See you in the chat. But look, we'll see if the Yankees can do it. They got Juan Soto, which I guess is supposed to fix some of those lineup issues. But then again, good luck with that. Freddie said Yankees equal Cowboys, LOL. I mean, it's what they are. Because like Justin said, they're relevant because, for the most part, they make the playoffs, which keeps you relevant in baseball. Yankees are relevant because of the name. With the name comes the pressure of being great. And a lot of the players they signed, Cole, Stanton, LeMahieu, etc., don't know how to win because they came from crap organizations. That's also a pretty good point. Stanton came from the Marlins, which, yes, the Marlins. I mean, it's the Marlins. Like, what are we talking about here? Cole came from those Pirates who haven't done much of anything, in LeMahieu from the Rockies. Yeah, good point. Okay, so a question I do have since, Trajan, your first time on. Who would you say is the face of the league?
The face of the league. Well, that's easy, but I don't think he's the best player in the league, and that's Shohei Ohtani. He's the face of MLB, but I don't believe that he is the best player in baseball, if you ask me. Like,
who do you think's the best player then?
It depends. You look at Shohei Ohtani and you look at his stats and you say, okay, is he the best hitter in baseball? And I would look more towards like Ronald Acuna. Acuna kind of strikes me to be up towards that top hitter in baseball, the guy who does it all for me. Shohei he's a highlight reel. Everybody pays attention to him, but Ronald Acuna does the little things better. And that's what I think puts me, everybody's hating on my Ronald Acuna take there. But, look at the stats. I mean, dig into the stats on Ohtani as a hitter and Ohtani as a pitcher. You look at the stats, the guy isn't the best of both. But if face of the MLB, Shohei Ohtani. End of the day, Shohei Ohtani. That's just how it is. I've never been that big of a Shohei Ohtani fan, so that's my take on him right there.
Wow.
Would you say part of that's because of the lack of success with the Angels? You think that's kind of shaped how you view him?
Yeah. I mean, well, yes and no. Yes and no with that. I mean, I don't really shape a guy's success as a player through winning in the playoffs, everything like that, because you look at the organization he started with, the Angels. I think Mike Trout should have dipped out of there a long time ago. He's kind of wasted his career away with that Angels organization. So, I mean, yes, Shohei Ohtani is a modern-day Babe Ruth. I agree with that one. But I don't know. I don't judge him off of the team he was on. I judge him off of the stats. And that's just the stats point me in the direction of other hitters and other pitchers as the best players in the league. So I don't know. Face of the league, yes. Best player, no.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. That's interesting. I feel like I've asked you this before, Aaron, but since we might have new viewers, like who do you have as the face of the league? And if it's not the best player, like Trajan said, who would you say is the best player in the league?
Tragan, I gotta completely disagree, to the fullest, because the thing, like, you bring up Ronald Acuna, right? Okay, like he's probably a better hitter. He's like a 5-tool player. He can steal bases. You know what I mean? But that guy, like, for the fact of I've seen him jog to try and to not give it all out for fly balls. Like, there's been time, and I'm not saying that has everything to do with like being the best. Like, if he went 110%, like if he played like Bryce Harper played, he would probably be like even more ridiculous. Like, I think Acuna takes some at bats off. I think he's like mentally kind of laxed at times, but like at the end of the day, he's obviously top 5 hitter. Like, no matter what, how you slice, you could almost compare him to Manny Ramirez in some respects, I think, because like Manny's just going to be Manny, Acuna's just going to be Acuna. But like, to say Ohtani's not the best player, because like how many innings has Acuna ever registered? You know what I mean? Like, just to be fair, because like it's not like Ohtani is like he's a great hitter and then he's like he has a 5 ERA. Like he's arguably an ace of a staff or a number 1 or 2 of any team almost you could put him on. And then like he just hits bombs. He can hit for average. Like, I don't see how you can not think he's the best player, because he can do both. Like, if he was only a pitcher or only a hitter, you could literally categorize him against Garrett Cole as a pitcher or Corbin Burns as a pitcher, or I mean, you take your whoever you want. But like the fact he can, I mean, now he can't pitch for the time being, but when he can do both, like it's just like, I don't care. Aaron Judge could hit 600 home runs in one season. He can't. He's not going to make one pitching appearance. You know what I mean? So I like Aaron Judge. I'm not a Yankees fan, but I do like Judge. I respect him as a hitter. He's just dynamite, but he can't pitch. So it's like maybe now you can make that comparison though, because he is only going to be hitting. So that would be interesting to maybe revisit. But I think Ohtani has to be the face of the league, and like Judge is probably a close second. Obviously it doesn't hurt that he plays for the Yankees. That's like, for face of the league, they want that. But outside of that, I think it's like you could say Ohtani, Judge, and then kind of a drop off to Acuna, only because he doesn't get the press that those guys get, and then Harper's in there somewhere. He still doesn't get the press that Judge gets.
I like that. No, I see your point. I see your point with Ohtani being the best player because he can do both, and he does both great. And I'm not saying that he isn't a great pitcher, and I'm not saying that he isn't a great hitter. I mean, the dude's a dog. I'm not going to, end of the day, the dude's a dog. And I'm not going to say he's not a great hitter. I just, both ways was my kind of argument there, I guess. But I see exactly what you're saying. He can do both, and he does both exceptional. So that's why he's the best player in the league. You changed my mind. You did. With your argument there, you did.
Wow, that might be the first time I've ever done that to any way in my life. But.
I guess I was kind of looking at the likes of Acuna's year last year and everything like that, and that kind of got me steering a different direction. But I like it. I like that. I like that deal.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, you made a good
Aaron's
point.
out here just influencing people's opinions. Check you out, man.
He can't hit this year though, so like maybe it throws a wrench in the whole thing. Like maybe now it is like if he comes out and doesn't lead the league in average or home runs or like, yeah, Tragan.
There you go. Made a fan.
You gotta admit it.
Dustin said.
Right? I'm sorry.
Dustin said Shohei, Acuna, Judge, and Harper are the faces. However, Ellie De La Cruz led jersey sales last year and is entering the conversation. I feel like for Cruz, it's just, he's maybe you could say most exciting to watch only because of like his blazing speed and everything. But I definitely agree that Ohtani would be the face of the league for, the reasons that you guys are talking about. He's seen as the best hitter and arguably the best pitcher all at the same time. He's probably the most maybe marketable because of the whole connection with Japan and everything that makes him internationally a superstar like that. So that's definitely something that the league should take advantage of. You know, Aaron and I have talked about before that baseball isn't necessarily the best at showcasing their stars, but it seems like they're doing okay with Shohei, at least. Gene said Harper's who the league wanted. He's got the attitude baseball is begging for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that one.
Otani's he's too nice almost. Like,
Yeah.
not that that's a bad thing. Like, I
fire.
don't want him to be, but like Harper has that, like, I'm gonna eat your face off or what, I don't even know what, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna punch you in the face. Harper has that, and Otani probably doesn't have that in his body. Like, doesn't have that at all. I don't know.
Maybe he'll gain that. Go to a winning organization. Maybe he'll get a little arrogance to him, and who knows? Look, that's what baseball should highlight: personalities. Because we only have like 3 or so minutes, but like the one thing where you have like the old school baseball fans who hate when players celebrate home runs and stuff like that. I think that's the stuff that baseball should really want. That gets you, clips and everything like that. Maybe if Otani starts bat flipping every home run, starts pimping out home runs, and maybe people look at him a little differently and be like, you know what, I kind of like that guy. There's the face of MLB right there. But yeah, as we're winding down, you guys want to look? I'll just say this: Trajan, for first time on with you, loved it. Happy to have you on the show. I know it's going to be an interesting season, especially with you and Dustin now. Cubs Brewers, that's going to be a thing every week. I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet. But you have any, final words before we get out of here?
I'm making friends and fans all in one show. That's all I know. I'm making friends and fans with Cubs fans. I tell you. I mean, it's crazy how close we are getting to the start of MLB season already. I mean, it just seems like yesterday I was watching the World Series one last time, and now here we go again. Right? It's back. The craziest part is how many free agents are still out there, big names. That's I think the highlight of this spring training so far is how many of them are still out there. And yeah, that's about all I got there. It's just the craziness that is the free agency period right now.
Yeah. Aaron? Well, actually, Trajan, you want to let them know like where they can, find you, like what social media you're on?
Yeah, you can find me.
Anything like that?
I run a sports podcast, the Wisconsin sports podcast called Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. And also I'm on Twitter, Wisco Sports on the Go, and then Facebook, just my same as my podcast name all the way around. So you can find me at all of them handles there.
Aaron?
Yeah, no, it was fun. Always fun with Kyle, and then bringing Trajan in tonight. Trajan, sorry, I probably mispronounced that, but no, you have really good points, and it was like I love talking baseball. So cool talking to a fan of a team that I don't necessarily interact with a lot. Like it's just more rare to come in contact with a Brewers. See, you got the Yankees fans coming out.
Yeah, they come in late, like always. Here they are.
I mean, look, my whole thing is when they win a World Series, I might give them some time. Until then, whatever.
There it is.
But no, I look forward to doing it. Like Kyle and I talk about it. As we get closer to the season now, we'll try and be doing this every week if we can. And like you can find me on Twitter at Brutally Honest minus the T, and then on trying to get TikTok rolling a little bit, so I'm messing around with that at Brutally Honest Sports _. And yeah, I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those things. But yeah, always fun, always a good time. And an hour goes so fast. So
it really does. It really does. But look, like Aaron said, now with spring training really going, we are hoping to be here with you guys every Thursday night. We'll say 9:15 because that does kind of fit the baseball vibe. Got to have that 15 on there for whatever reason. So we'll say 9:15 going forward. So for Trajan, for Aaron, for Brutally Honest Sports, I mean, you know where to find me. I'm on Big Three Cheap Seats here on the network. I also have Chomping at the Bit. You can find that on YouTube or Facebook or wherever. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can find me there. But yeah. So for Trajan, Aaron, and myself, this is the Bases Loaded podcast, and we will see you all next week. Enjoy the rest of your night. We're out of here. Bye.